Hello, this is Darren from Mirkwood Farm and Studio, but I didn't put that in the name. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what kind of art that I do and what I use for my art. What I basically, if you want to know, is I use it's called soft pastel. It's basically chalk. There are two types of pastel that I know of, and I think that's it. And this is a soft pastel, and this is a mini stick or half stick they call them, and this is full stick. And these are shades of brown. If you look back here, I have some of these drawers open. But I'll show you. These are several of the colors. There's all of them. These are my I got purple, blues, greens, grays and blacks. Two different chambers for browns. I've got yellows, oranges, and then reds. So basically the rainbow order of colors. And those are my short sticks. And then I've got some longer sticks. And they're just basically warm colors, cool colors, blacks, grays, and whites, and I have some grays in the wrong area, and then my browns. So I didn't have enough chambers, actually, these are the chambers that came with originally, and I added chambers to the smaller ones. But this one, so instead of having orange, red, and yellow, I just have them as warm colors, and then blue, purple, and green as cool colors, because there's warm and cool colors. A lot of different accessories, different types of racers, putty racers, these soft racers. I use, this is a sanding stick. This one's never been opened, but this is a sanding stick, and it'll sand if you need an edge. I don't use that very often, mainly only when doing like buildings, because buildings have sharp corners. And when my fingers don't work, I use my fingers to blend. But when that doesn't work, I use these. I don't exactly remember what they're called. I think they're called blenders. They're different sizes of them. That's a fresh package. Of course, when I use them, if I have one over here, I'm pretty sure I have one. I've been using one the last couple days. Golly. Who knows where it is on my desk. You can use a eraser on the pastels. And I do use them occasionally. Also can use fixative. This is a fixative, so that I can spray, and then I can draw the picture out and then do some detail later and redo over it. Fixatives don't really help the pastels. This is a final fixative, but I don't use this. Very, very rarely do I use this, because I'll use it on black and whites, but it dulls the color, so I don't like to use it very often. I also use paintbrushes, believe it or not, because these pictures get very dusty because you're using chalk, and chalk creates dust. And what you're doing is blending the chalk dust into the paper. The paper I use is not just ordinary paper. You have to get a special paper. This is from France. This is a French paper that I use. I think it's French. It's got a French name. Could be made in the United States for all I know. It has French writing on it and English. So I don't know where it's come from. My pastels come from Europe, from Korea, and different places. This is the paper that I use. Now, this comes in different colors. If I'm going to use oil pastels, I just use white. But if I'm using soft pastel, I always use a color background that'll help with my color. Sometimes it doesn't help. But this one I'm running out. I can do some more paintings though, but I'm running out of selection. So, you know, that's what I use. I have a lot of different kind of paper for different kind of jobs. I also use what is called canvas board. I have one over here somewhere. Just now, I had it just a minute ago, I think. Canvas will work. See, the paper that I use is kind of like a real fine sandpaper, so it picks up those pieces of chalk. Well, I got a painting I started. This one I started drawing out. It's going to be an old ruined building's doorway, but it's blue. See, I use this stuff, which is called gesso, which is a sandy kind of paint. It's a primer, and you put that down, but you can add acrylic paint to it. So you add the acrylic paint to give it a color. So if you wanted a light blue, you add actually a dark blue, mixing with white, and then you come up with your background color for your painting. And those are canvas boards. You can't really use a canvas that well, but you can with soft pastels. And I'll show you some of those. Close this drawer. Okay, these are half of my soft pastels, or not, or oil pastels. These are oil pastels, and they're a pigment, but they use an oil background for them. As you can see, it's probably hard to show in the film or in the on film, but anyway, they're oil pastels. That's what I started with, and then I started doing soft pastels. I like soft pastels because you can blend the colors real easy. Although you can blend with oil pastels, but you're more like smearing. It's a greasier. It's like using colored grease as compared to colored chalk. So oil pastels can go on different kinds of paper. They don't need a special paper necessarily when I do oil pastels. And oil pastels work really good on canvas. Soft pastels, you got to use gesso on the canvas to kind of smooth the canvas out. It needs a gritty paper, and the canvas does have a grit to it, but it has too much grit to it, too many hills and valleys. Now, the reason I use a workable finish, because if I'm blending and getting too much pigment down on the paper, it's going to fill in all those valleys, and it's going to smoothen the paper out. So this has something in it that makes the picture gritty again, so that the colors can start adhering to the paper again. That's a little bit about my art. I also use pastel pencils, and these are the best I've found, and these are the cheaper ones that are, because this is Hobby Lobby's brand called Master's Touch. And as far as pastel pencils, I've got some very expensive ones right over there. I can't reach, and they're actual pencils. These are what they call leadless pencils, because the whole pencil is a pastel. So you just shave the point. You don't have that wood around it, and that's what makes it really nice, because then you can dull the edge and do thicker lines, and that's why I like it better than the more expensive pastel pencils, which I have over here. These are my This is my little travel. I use these pencils for my travel now. And as you can see, they are the pastel pencils. And they have a lot of color to them. As you can also see, they're like pencils that got the wood and then the pastel inside. But they're good, and then you got to get a good pencil sharpener. I suck at sharpening. I have all kinds of pencil sharpeners. Now this is a bullet, which is hard to find. It's called a bullet. It looks kind of like a bullet. It's a pencil sharpener. It's a pretty good one. But you have to be real delicate, and I'm a very forceful guy. I'm stronger than I think I am. My dad always told me that. You're stronger than you think you are. You got to be careful with that. You don't know your own strengths. I'm always breaking pencils. And they're not cheap. You know, my art pencils aren't cheap. I don't use lead pencils on pastel paintings. So you draw your picture out, you draw it with a pastel pencil. I either use black or white. Usually I like to use white, but you know, you can't always use white if the paper's real light color, or even white itself. White's not going to work. So you have, but and it'll erase with an eraser off the paper too. You might fill in the valleys a little bit, but it'll erase. So that's what I do. I do mixed media in a lot of paintings though. Sometimes to bring a different effect. I will use acrylic. I will use watercolor, and other things because I like to mess around, experiment around with my paintings, and so I do that. This is what I use to spread the gesso with. Is these sponge paint brushes. You can get them at Walmart for like a couple dollars for a big pack. I got 3 left in this pack. I've been using it for a while. Sometimes I'll use colored pencil. I have colored pencils right here. And that's what I actually started doing artwork with, colored pencils. But I don't really do that so much. But this is a roll of colored pencils. See, they're all in there. And anyway, enough about that. But just to explain how my art is. It's not easy to do paintings in chalk, so it's not. A lot of people you compare my painting to someone who does oils or acrylics. You're not, or even a watercolor. You're going to get it's going to come out different. Difference paintings, they're all pigment, but it's a different way to apply the pigment. So anyway, I've talked long enough. So you guys all have a good day and a better tomorrow.